You just need to kind of differentiate. And so it's like, then it becomes like, okay, so what does a leader need to be able to do? What are the tools that they can do? How can they make a better culture, right? And then how do the support staff enhance that? And if I were to think of like one tool that we've discussed where Calibrator may be able to attack particularly, they're never going to love like seeing, the Net Promoter Score as an absolute, or, the number of complaints, things like that. Those are always going to be like never fun. Giving actionable feedback is one thing that you could do. Like how to give feedback to someone so that they come out of it feeling like you care about them and you want them to get better. So like giving and receiving feedback is a skill, right? And so that is a skill that all managers should have. I think that the one that we could probably move the most of the needle on is recognition, right? So compliments. What do we do with the compliments? How do we, make it super easy for people to recognize when things are good and reinforce those positive behaviors? So rather than being focused on the negative, how do we reinforce the positive behaviors to show people what good looks like? Interesting. And doctors get very little of that. So that's they're much more likely to get the negative than the positive.
And do you think that's like more just stress? Is that industry? Is that culture? Is that like, what do you think like the reason for that is specifically?
I would say two things. It's like the type of people in healthcare in general tend to be, there's a lot of type A's. And so if they move into a leadership thing, type A's tend to focus more on the fixing the negative than enhancing the positive, right? And then just in general, immature leadership, right? Like, do a lot of management. It's like 10% of the time I'm like, if I'm giving feedback, it's very rarely negative, right? It's usually positive feedback, problem solving, and then it's like on a pretty rare occasion, and I'm guiding people, but like to give like truly negative feedback, you have to have trust first.
Do you think it's hard for doctors to buy in to just being more engaged?
Only because they're pretty cynical at this point, because so much of medicine is pretty corporatized. So it would have to be authentic. Whatever you do, and that's why patient comments, particularly on the compliment side, are interesting because it's authentic. It's like no one's making the patient do that. And